come back and be played in different ways. So now RRR will have their first map pick of the tournament, and they banned Cursed Hollow, so they think they're probably going to avoid maps like Dragonshire,
the big map, Towers of
Doom. So Sky Temple is probably off the menu. Maybe we go to Tomb of the Spider Queen if they're really trying to keep it on the smaller maps.
Maybe we go to Braxis and see Zagara once more, just like the Chinese teams. Maybe.
Also, we've seen them really succeed and do well on Dragonshire, despite not taking a win on the map yet. Seem to be their strongest map from what I've seen. Looking at the promotion tournament and also looking at the games we've seen here in HGC. It's going to be Braxis. They're doing it.
Oh,
good call, G-Club.
Is this going to be Zagara once more? But this time with the Nidus Network. We've seen it from the Chinese team, from the Eastern Clash. It worked. It worked awesome, man. No, I don't think it's going to happen. Unlikely, but another thing is Cho'Gario. BlossoM actually got a win off of MVP Black on this map that MVP Black chose with Cho'Gario, with Medivh. And knowing that they're going into Braxis, they have to be planning something here.
Well, I think there's definitely a high chance of that. Let's not count our eggs before they hatch, though. We'll see what the draft looks like here for RRR, or if they're just countered right at the beginning. So I know if those of you who haven't watched a lot of HGC Korea yet, we've already had 5 days. Today's our 6th, but this week we saw Cho'Gall for both days, Friday and Saturday's matches, and had a strong win rate until Raven picked it. But we'll see if maybe RRR can build that back up. It was 100%, now 67. See if it goes up or down. If they even play the hero, it was used on Braxis, so normally not meta and not really seen, so it might sound strange to hear us talk about Cho'Gall as a meta pick or something that we would see, but seems to be quite strong, like in the old days with the Ariel. So I'm hoping we're getting to this game in just a second here, as might need one of the players might needed a break or something. We went really slow through this set of graphics, but now the draft is ready.
I think it's also the Korean commentators just super hyped and energetic about Braxis because they know BlossoM played a super crazy game off of MVP Black and brought the win for themselves. Let's see. I cannot wait. Okay, for now they're opening the supports too. The reason why Ariel came up so hard is oftentimes Luther is banned, and off this map, maybe we'll even see Morales coming in because of all the sustain needed during the top for the bottom lane.
Let's see what BlossoM bans here, because the Dahaka ban's not set. It's actually quite unusual for this 2-lane map to see a Dahaka pick this early, so it looks like they have a throwaway ban planned in mind. There's going to be the Dahaka, so this is not because they're afraid of Dahaka on the side of RRR. They think it's good for the map. It's just it's something they don't want to deal with, and they want to have either the Uther or the Genji, probably.
Please.
You're so blessed RNG right now.
Yes. They may be actually considering of banning Ariel. Okay, Genji, they're gonna just leave it open because they will have 2 picks right after.
They'd rather BlossoM take Uther than ban to play Cho'Gall, perhaps, if that's what they're worried about. I don't think you should necessarily worry about the Cho'Gall pick, but if you're drafting around that, they want BlossoM to pick Uther here. And it's going to be Ariel, so they're already drafting down this path.
I can smell it!
So this is already pretty obvious for RRR what's coming.
But RRR does have the 5th pick for the last counter if they choose Cho'Gall at the last rotation. So that's one good news for them. But even with the soft counter or hard counter, if they draft into something like with the Medivh, like just like last time when they defeated MVP Black, even while all the percent damage was ignored because of all the protection.
Well, Uther is going to be one choice. We'll see if they grab the Anubarak to cocoon targets, or if they want to go for, I was going to say, if they really want to worry about the Cho'Gall pick, they could grab the Tychus. So if you can't really grab Cho'Gall here, if that's your plan, because if you do, then you can't stop them from getting Tychus and Malthael, and those are both going to be really good answers. It becomes super obvious what your plan is, how to draft around it, to have better globals as well. We could even see Falstad drafted to get the extra split push going on because Cho'Gall has to be together. Builds into the auto attack damage. There are a lot of ways to counter the Cho'Gall, so I don't think you draft it here. You wait until the 5th pick, as you were saying. You keep RR guessing.
That's right.
Maybe you ban the Tychus in the next phase, and you're like, oh, what does it mean? Am I gonna play it or am I not? And you leave RR kind of struggling to figure out what the plan is.
Do you smell the efficientness coming out from RRR right now? This map is all about sustain, the laning. They picked Uther. I smell double support coming, not just Tassadar, maybe something else, but here we go!
They committed to it.
Cho'Gall is real, and we're going for it. There's an instant ban on Medivh, okay.
I think this was a mistake by BlossoM. I think they're going to regret prioritizing this here. Greymane, the ban, they leave open the Tychus pick. And Tychus has been what we've seen used most to counter the Cho'Gall for DPS. So I would expect the RR will take that. Malthael is obviously very strong against Cho'Gall and has decent wave clear, so we might see him just for the map. He's very strong in lane. In the 4-man, he's a great soul laner. There's a lot of different reasons why you would take the Malthael here. So they could even take Malthael and Tychus, and it wouldn't even be wrong. So these are things that worry me when you think about what BlossoM has brought to the table now with the Cho'Gall. They've shown it so early. They give so many options to RR, who definitely already consider that this is going to be a possibility. You know, if you've done your research on BlossoM, you know that picking in this map into it, this is likely what they're going to draft, what they're going to bring here on Brax's holdout. So if RR is shocked by this pick, then they just haven't done their research.
I think they did, and that's exactly.
And look, they picked both the picks I saved, Tychus and Malthael. And now, as BlossoM, you feel really silly. I think you think, oh man, well that's a lot of DPS. Our Cho'Gall isn't going to last very long if it's ever out of position for 1 second, or gets cocooned and is then forced out of position, or gets a Nubarak knocked up by 2 impales. The burrow charge, the Uther stun comes in. I'm worried about this Cho'Gall.
If they are going all the way in Cho'Gall, I think they have to. I think the last pick for RR is Tassadar coming in, because even Malthael, Tychus can blow up when they try to go into the damage. Cho'Gall does tons and tons of damage, so taking it away from them, also giving more shield because Medivh is banned out. I think that's an okay idea too. Just leave Cho'Gall do whatever he wants to with all the sustained healing coming out from Ariel and the protection, the shields from Tassadar. And just pick one solo lane on top. I think that they're set to go.
I don't think they know what to do here. 5 seconds left. Calling it out. Doo-doo in there. It's going to be the Thrall for the solo lane. Tassadar comes in, as you said.
That's smart. This is very smart drafting coming out for both teams.
But do you feel like the Thrall pick fixes the problem? You're going to have pick Thrall into the solo lane Malthael. This is the second time this has been picked in HGC Korea as the Thrall matchup. It was completely destroyed on Dragonshire against the Malthael in the top lane yesterday.
I think it's less likely this time, and because this is Braxis, you get more chances of Earthquake, even the Thunder Rain coming in. And it's one of the comfort pick that BlossoM not this time Wiz, because he is a support. He will be likely to be on Ariel. Maybe they're even considering about role changes, because this is Cho'Gall. Anything can happen right now.
Anything can happen, that's true. They could put, I don't know who would play into playing the Ariel if that were the case, but it's possible they swap for sure. They didn't really last time. It was Doo-doo on the Gall there. So RR just looking to draft the solid finisher here. Could definitely be a second range DPS. It's going to be Zagara. So
oh yes, we have everything that we wanted. This is the dream.
This is very, very likely to be Maw this time against Cho'Gall. So powerful in the situation. If you Maw the Ariel as well, you win the fight while she's in the Maw itself. You have Cocoon available. I think RR has destroyed, demolished, jackhammered, smashed. I don't know why we're on camera. Exploded, burned, annihilated.
The draft was too crazy that
BlossoM.
The game exploded. That's how crazy this is, and seems like the players are having some pause right before the game. And Zagara, more likely, as you said, it's going to be Maw, but maybe Nidus Network, because we saw some Nidus Network happening in Braxis specifically.
Well, then you just, if you take the network, it's also strong because you avoid fighting the sustained healing coming out from Ariel. That's going to make Cho'Gall so powerful, which is why you've been seeing it, especially on this map. BlossoM used it specifically here against MVP Black, took that win. If you use the global power post 10 to kind of warp around the map and just avoid that fight and be able to make sure you can basically always control a beacon during that phase, you could avoid the fight that way. If you want to take the fight to them, you take them all. It's hard to say. I think they're going to take them all, but I'm not 100% sure. We can't know. But my concern with taking the Nidus Network or taking Zagara in general is she's going to come online post 10. And sometimes on this map, you kind of lose the game before then. That could definitely happen.
It does happen, and I think Maul is the right way to go if you trap Ariel and Tassadar, or either one of them, the lack of sustain, and you can burst down with all the percent damage, and I think that's enough time. Maul lasts for like 4 or 5 seconds. So in 4 or 5 seconds with Malthael, percent damage, and Taika's minigun, that's more than enough time to burn down Cho'Gall. I think that's likely what we're going to see here.
Yeah, once we get post 10, I think that's where the big problems are going to start for BlossoM. I mean, I think in the early game, especially like levels 1 to like 7, I think they're going to have a really hard time in the beacons phase. I think the first beacon should probably be lost by or be won by BlossoM. If RRR is winning the early game against this infinity sustain with Cho'Gall in the 4-man, then the game will end. I mean, it is going to be disastrous. So we'll see if they can make this work against the counters that were already there. Perhaps they just really wanted this so hard they were scared that either Cho or Gall would have been banned in the second ban phase, so they just grabbed it there. But that's the problem with drafting into a hero that is 2 heroes, that is so heavily countered. It's a bit messy, but we are going to jump into the game now in just a second, guys. We're going to do our little we're going into game number 2 kind of thing in just a second. Okay, guys, we're going into game number 2. All right, in blue, Wiz on Ariel, Gondar and Dudu on Cho'Gall. It's Gondar on the Cho, Dudu on the Gall, Mora on Thrall, and no chat on Tassadar, so no role swaps.
And in red, RRR, Odak on Malthael, MSG on Anubarak, EZZ on Taika's Kong on Zagara, and take a look on Uther.
So, double support, the extra sustain for the Cho'Gall. In this early game, he is going to dominate. There's just no way to kill him or the healers reasonably on the side of RRR, barring a huge mistake in positioning on, especially Wiz, because you're never going to kill Tassadar. He just presses E and laughs at you as he escapes. So they are going to even heavily pressure this at level 1. It's going to be Zagara in the top lane. We didn't know that for sure until Zagara was locked in. It was assumed to be Odak on Malthael before that. He's just going to be down here harassing the Cho'Gall. Going to have a high hero damage in this game, I can guarantee you that.
That's right, but if RRR cannot blow up the Cho'Gall within that couple of seconds with the opportunity, because the sustain immensely goes in favor of BlossoM, I think they can still have a very great chance of coming back into the game. Of course, it's only the start right now. There's a percent damage coming in, but the shield is, and Odog is positioning himself too dangerously in the front.
As you can see, just pre-10, Cho'Gall just is like, oh, I lost 1/8 of my health, but it's back again already. And also, if you hit me again, Wiz already has a full hope bar, so you just can't do anything. This is like disastrous, obviously, at level 1, level 2, this early game. But as we get later into the game, Taika starts to get more of his talents online, and you get to see the upgrades for Malthael's trait coming in, especially the extension and the extra damage that comes in later on. These are going to be the talents that come in that just start to smash BlossoM, smash Cho'Gall, and therefore smash BlossoM. The ability to grab a pick on Ariel is going to be very difficult, but when they have potentially the Maw, also the Cocoon coming in, those are going to be the ways that they just remove that healing, burst the Cho'Gall in that moment, then win the fight as a result. The first beacon does go in favor of BlossoM.
And it seems like the bottom lane right now, It's all about dodging those balls. It's like seems like a mini game almost to me.
Yep.
And they're losing the sustain fight. That's the thing. Some of them already tapped onto the fountain already. And for now, Uther's mana is sustaining. It's healthy. But if this goes on for a long time, and Thrall seems to be... Oh, that was close. It seemed like he was almost dead too.
Yeah, well, hold that thought. Here's the CCs coming in.
When Tassadar is gone.
And look at Oduck. He wants to push the limits of this one. They will take the beacon back, only giving 32% over. We'll finally relieve this pressure. But the early game is just so difficult for RRR. That was their first glimmer of hope. No Chat actually comes in here for the gank. There is no way out of here for Kong, and that'll be, I think, his 6th death in lane solo in this best of 5 on the hero.
When Tassadar is gone, that's the opportunity for RRR, but when EZZ is that low, when you cannot give sustained healing like Ariel on the other side, then you cannot take the beacon control at all, and it is going towards BlossoM's side, so I think taking away Tassadar was nearly the perfect pick for BlossoM.
Well, I mean,
they won that from the draft.
RR made I just watched Oduck walk up and down 4 times on the Malthael because he couldn't decide whether he was gonna like go up there to help counter the gank because he suspected it was gonna happen. Then he walked back down because they were losing bot. Then he didn't go walk all the way back down. Then he went up because he was like, why did he clear top? Then he walked back down one more time, and then he walked back up and missed 2 waves of EXP, which explains the 6-5 lead right now. They didn't touch the beacons, and RR's struggling to deal with this with that pick on the Zagara. BlossoM gets a massive lead from this because RR just did not respond quickly. They were already behind from the pick itself, but the lack of a response here and Oduck's indecision, or perhaps the weak shot calling on the side of RR.
Look at this tower HP going down. It's already gone, and nothing at all lost in terms of Cho'Gabriel and Tassadar of so much sustain.
I talked about post 10, and when the talents come online, that's when RR is going to have a better chance. But I also did say that if this game ends before 10, if the lead is so substantial that even if they get 10, there's no way back, then that's a very strong possibility too. And if things continue like this, it may be that way.
That's the power of Cho'Gao coming in with Ariel, as we told you guys the entire draft, and you're witnessing in front of your eyes the power of it. The Dirk wave actually didn't do too much because they did have this decent wave clear along with Zagara, and Malthael was doing his job. But in terms of the bottom lane though, they're so far pushed into the keep wall.
Okay, here comes the big dive in. They did get the stuns, the follow-up there. Not enough DPS though at this stage. Cho'Gao gets stunned again, but HGC can't get into position. Mora's getting free push bot.
Not yet. They have to stall a lot of time. They have to do whatever it takes to stop them and burn time and actually earn time from EXP. Get all the EXP with Oduck clearing this wave to hit 10, as you mentioned.
Yeah, they're having Oduck now solo lane and switching Zagara up to the top, which is interesting because obviously Zagara isn't going to be able to do as much damage in lane here, but she will be able to build up some auto attack stacks from hitting the hero here.
And also will give some more power with the minion with her talent too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to relieve some of the pressure, you could argue. These heavy dives in from MSG, though, without Malthael here, they just really can't even hope to do anything. Tekkaluk here, very hyper-aggressive positioning there. Does force No Chat to dimensional shift. Wanted to get a second stun there. Does have that available, but not going to be in range. As Malthael's actually struggling, not against Thrall in the bot lane, but against the minion waves. And Kong, super low, does get taken out here.
Triple blow right there. That was a big explosion. MSG will barely survive.
Body blocks were real too, and nearly got the kill into MSG. This is going to be level 10, and this may just be game. And we don't like to talk about how games can end early, this early at 6:30. To call a game over seems silly, but on this map, I mean, you're going to be virtually, it will be impossible to grab the beacons ever again for RR. The 3 levels down, heroics are against them, and the early game snowball. We knew the early game was going to be way better for Cho'Gao with the sustain coming out here for the Ariel and the Tassadar, which is why RR struggled so much. But with them to get this much of an advantage, 4 kills to 0, getting double forts, winning the first Zerg wave, going to win the second one 100-0. I mean, you take this, you snowball this advantage this early, and there's just no door back into the game for RR, barring a miracle. can't fight before 10, and by that time, the beacon's 100%, and they're going to get a keep off of it.
I think it's not just Cho'Gao that's super strong, it's the entire team of BlossoM understanding their team comp and really pushing it to the max, and RRR has the counters. Even though they do, they just cannot make it work because BlossoM is doing so well right now with this team comp.
And they made it work so early, too, because a lot of the ways that RRR deals with this come online a little bit later, especially post 10, where you get the cocoon, which is a big one. And they just could not make it work. They couldn't survive long enough to get there. Force wall coming down here, traps HGC behind this tower, but this is going to be a dead keep immediately. Cho'Gao diving in.
This may be the game. Cho'Gao's going all the way in as RRR is still not even level 9.
Not even level 9. It's a 3-level lead here for scaling. The sustain remains, as we were talking about earlier. Don't forget there's a top push of mercenaries throughout all of this, so if some miracle happens and they survive here, I don't think it'll matter.
And that's the first kill going on. There's a thundering onto multiple targets. Anubarak barely survives, but here comes Cho'Gao right in front of their gate. They cannot even come out of the gate.
Okay, well that is going to be game over here. BlossoM takes it with a 3-level lead. They got the Cho'Gao pick they wanted. The counters were there, but they couldn't survive. They lost Kong in the early game in the soul lane. Weak decision-making on rotations. Watching Oduck walk up and down on the minimap 4 times without being in lane for so long. He was out of the game for twice as long as Zagara's death timer. That early game started to snowball when they didn't deal with the solo lane. Kong was picked early on, and that game they got smashed because they just couldn't respond. The sustain was there. We saw a few weird commitments to fights too, with the dive in coming from Anubarak when there wasn't any follow-up damage. And perhaps they had the right picks, and you could win a draft and still get crushed in the game if you don't know how to utilize those picks. Surviving to the mid-game there was the objective, and it was failed by RRR.
Yeah, it's about the sustain. And really, I'm pretty sure they were thinking about grabbing Tastar last pick, and it's a smart drafting coming out from BlossoM really got them. Zagara did help a little bit, but it was even worse because even Anubarak could not really tank because of the damage of Cho'Gao. It's amazing to see Cho'Gao winning this crazily into the team fight. Of course, they are against the weaker team, so to say, but they even got a map buff of MVP Black. So this is telling that Cho'Gao is in the meta. It's official, guys. Now.
I mean, it's definitely viable, and this game shows why. It's just impossible to kill in a 2-lane map like this, basically, and it's difficult to deal with. When you're swapping your solo lanes and when your solo lane is getting killed, it gets a little bit tougher. So we're tied up now 1-1 in this best of 5. We are going to take a short break to find out who takes the lead, and we'll see you guys in just a few moments.